Bruchim Aboim B'Shem Iyar Shir Torah. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's shir from Rabbi Yaakov Zev Smith on Hanom Melechas AKUM Shabbos v'Yom Tov, Shabbos deliveries and other AMIRA AKUM questions. I have the great sister sponsor shir called Iyar Shir Torah 718-851-8651.
Over Pesach, we hear two interesting shilas that come up on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Someone was very much waiting for a safe in the mail, and it was sent with book rate, and it came to his house on Shabbos, Erev Pesach. And he wanted to know if he's allowed to read it. It came with an open box. Basically, just open the box, take out the book. There was a safe, actually, I should say. Or else wait to 3 days. It was a safe about Yom Tov, and he wanted to read it very much. He wanted to learn it. The question is, the fact that it came in the mail, is it also to use until after Shabbos or Yom Tov? The question would be also, if it's in the mountains, you get mail on Shabbos, and maybe it came from Tchum, does that complicate matters somewhat? We had another question over Yom Tov. Someone ordered clothing for the children, and Punkta came on Shabbos, Erev Pesach, so he was waiting 3 days, or using it on Yom Tov itself. So before we go right, I want to be moist to my dad that with today, the sugya of today about deliveries and having enough deliveries is negeya to Yom Tov just like to Shabbos. And some things, halach Yom Tov is more kal, but regarding the sugya of today, it's Yom Tov just like Shabbos. We say Shabbos because there's more Shabbos than Yom Tov, but who adin Yom Tov? So the truth is, in the sugya of today, there are really two different points that really overlap. There's one, of course, the Issa of AMIRA l'AKUM, instructing a guy to do something for you on Shabbos, whether it's delivering a package, you could tell him to deliver a package before Shabbos, or bring a package where the guy is being instructed to do something. But then we have today's sugya, if the guy did it, is it mutter to have hana from the package? Can you use the sefer that you got in the mail, or the clothing you got in the mail? So one thing I think we should be very well aware of, Chazal, or actually the Torah Kedosha, put a very strong protection on the Heilige Shabbos, and specifically regarding AMIRA l'AKUM. Even though l'halacha we paskin AMIRA l'AKUM is only an Issa d'Rabbanan, but we can't lose sight of the fact that it's based on a pasuk in the Torah. In Parashas Boy, the Torah says, Kol malacha lo yeh yasa behem. It shouldn't be done. Why does it don't do? So Rashi says it a few words, but really the Makar is the Mechilta, and the Mishtabur and Reishmim Gimel Sif Kot and Hey quotes it. The Torah says Lo Yeh Yasa Zol Nish Gitan Gevarin, it shouldn't be done, means even if you don't do it. If a guy does it because on your behalf, that's like malacha being done by you. In fact, Rashi in Masechta Shabbos Kufnan Gimel says one of the reasons AMIRA l'AKUM is because the guy is a shliach for the yid, even though ain't shliach liakum, ain't shliach advarvera. But regarding AMIRA l'AKUM, what the guy does is a shlichus for the yid. But what's noteworthy, the Rambam in the beginning of the 6th parak in the Hilchas Shabbos, he says it's asur for a guy to do malacha for a yid, even though the guy is not supposed to keep Shabbos. But davar ze asur midivrei seifim kadesh leitei Shabbos kala beinecha. The Rambam's famous reason for AMIRA l'AKUM is it's to protect Kedusha Shabbos. Shabbos shouldn't become just like another day. And the emphasis, if you think about it, it will be very obvious to understand why AMIRA l'AKUM protects Shabbos. Imagine for a moment if we'd be allowed to ask the guy to do all malachas on our behalf. The guy could wash the dishes, the guy could vacuum, the guy could put on the recording of the Daf Yomi share. He'll do everything and anything. There won't be a trace of Shabbos. The guy could cook when it's not Bishul Akum. There won't be any remnant of Kedusha Shabbos. And that's why it's so important to understand that AMIRA l'AKUM is protecting Kedusha Shabbos. Chas v'shalom, Shabbos should not become Kala Beinecha. I always thought that's maybe the pshat in a tshuva min hashamayim. If you do one of the Rishonim, one of the Balei Toisa, Ben Yankov, wrote shaylas to Shamayim and he received responses. So in Siman Dalet he asked the question about asking a guy to move muktzah, which is typically a shvus to shvus, which is not so bad. But the response was very serious. Loisige bayod, kisakel yisakel, ayara yayare. Don't play around with Amira la'akum. Kol anegeya b'divreyem, kinegeya b'bavas einai. You're playing with Chas v'shalom, the Rebbeinu Shalom's pupil of his eye, bavas einai. Uvechama mekaymes asu chizik l'divreyem yoysim mishel Torah. That's the lashon of the Min HaShamayim, which of course speaks volumes of the chaymer, of the severity of Amira la'akum. But I think what I have the hergish, why does he use the lashon that Amira la'akum is bavas einai, the pupil of the Rebbeinu Shalom's eyes? Because really Amira la'akum is the protection of Kedusha Shabbos. If a guy could do whatever he wants to do, or whatever we want him to do, there won't be a zeicha of Shabbos. It has to be the Rebbeinu Shalom Shabbos. And that's why there's a lot to say, but suffice to say that this is the bavas einai of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, Rav once told me that people think that Amira la'akum is not only a heta, but it's a way of life. And halacha says it's not a heta, and it can't be a way of life, because that's really the asur chacham chizik l'divreyim. But as far as we're concerned, we have to learn a Gemara in Beyach of Dalad Amud Beis, again talking about Yom Tov, but Yom Tov and Shabbos are very much similar. And this introduces us to the aspect of, to the ikka point of today's sugya. If a guy did malacha, can a yid have enough from the malacha? Zok Gemara in Beyach of Dalad Amud Beis, Nachri shehevi doirin li Yisrael b'Yom Tov, a guy brought a gift for the yid. The yid didn't ask him. The guy on his own brought a gift. And Zok the Gemara, if you could assume that the guy did malacha, he had to cut off the apples to bring you the apples, it's asa for the yid to enjoy the apples on Shabbos or Yom Tov. In fact, u'le'erev nami asurim b'chadei sheyasu. Not only you can't have enough malacha on Shabbos or Yom Tov, but you have to wait the time that it would take for the guy to do malacha, and wait that time on Matzoy Shabbos. L'mashal, if the guy had to travel to the orchard and cut off the apples, you have to calculate how long did it take the guy to do malacha, and that time you have to wait on Matzoy Shabbos or Matzoy Yom Tov. Not only you can't have anah on Shabbos, but you have to wait the time that it took to do malacha, and that time you have to wait on Matzoy Shabbos. This is what's referred to as B'kedei Sheyasa, which means to do the time that it takes to do the malacha. Now, this is a halbatzar, but you look in the Shulchan Aruch, it's Mefurish and Tafkuf, Tezvav, Sif Katan, Aleph, and Gimel. It's come out Mefurish in the Gemara. Even if you're not sure he did malacha, even if it's only a suffix, did he do malacha or not, al suffix you have to wait until Matzoy Shabbos Chadei Sheyasa. It's only a suffix to Rabbanon, but the Paiskim say, because we don't want you to come to do malacha by yourself. Even a safek Amira la'akum is also in this context. So here we see an introduction to the issa of having enough malechas akum. It's also b'chadei sheyasa, even of a safek. What's taka the reason for the issa? So Rashi and Beya says you shouldn't have enough malechas yom tiv. The guy cut off apples off a tree. That's a malacha. So you can't have enough malechas akum. Tosfos has a problem with Rashi's Shita, and Tosfos has a different reason, which is probably the Ikka Yisoid for today. El hatam shema yoim elanachri leich ulekait. If you're allowed to have enough from what the guy did for you today on his own initiative, you didn't tell him today. Next Shabbos or next Yom Tov, you'll ask them straight out. Say, gelungen in Geschäft. He did it for you, you're allowed to have enough. Next time you'll ask him yourself. So basically, since Amira la'akum is so easy to do, and it's so enticing, and some people think it's a way of life, Chazal had to say, no. We have to put on a protection, a deterrent, that a person should not be inclined to ask a guy to do malacha of him, because even if the guy did malacha, it's asa until Matzoy Shabbos b'chadei sheyasa. So we have to remove the incentive of the guy doing malacha for the yid. So we see this double isser of hana and even kadei sheyasa. Now the emphasis, you look in the Mishnah Berurah in the beginning of Taf Kuf Tezvav, He discusses Rashi and Tosfos, the various nafkaminas, but we have a big agenda. But I will say one thing. It comes out from Tosfos that even on a 3-day Yom Tov, if the guy did malacha on Shabbos, you can't have not Shabbos and not the 2 days Yom Tov. Now, one thing needs explanation. If chas v'shalom, a yid did malacha on Shabbos, so that's a sugya in Shin Yud Ches Sif Aleph, that's called Ma'aseh Shabbos, and no yid could have malacha ha'ana for what the yid did on Shabbos. But if you look at the Shin Yud Ches Sif Aleph, you can't have ha'ana on Shabbos if the yid did malacha. But Matzoi Shabbos, you have ha'ana right away. So the question is, how you talking? If a yid did malacha, real chilul Shabbos, there's no kadesh yasa. A guy did malacha, you have to wait kadesh yasa. Zokt, the Paiskim, and the Mishnah Berurah quotes it. It's very pashut. Because no one will ever ask a yid to do malacha for him. He's pained by the idea of the yid doing malacha. So there's no reason to make kadesh yasa. But AMIRA AKUM, again, since people believe it's a way of life, we need some strong protection. So not only Matzoi Shabbos, but B'Kadesh Yasa. So Adarabah, because it's looked at lightly, Chazal had to go to the other extreme. So this is why the Mechaber gives a mashal in Reish Ayin Vav Sif Aleph. A guy puts on a light or lights a candle for a yid. It's asa for the yid to have hana from the candle until Matzoi Shabbos B'Kadesh Yasa. But what's pashit is, let's say the guy you didn't tell the guy anything. Here's a common scenario. The guy knocks on your door, Friday night. I see you're sitting in the darkness. The light's not on. I know what happened. Probably the light was, you didn't set the light or the timer went off. I'm a experienced Shabbos guy. I know all about this stuff. Just let me put the lights on and you could sit in the light. You don't have to tell me anything. So that's the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Katan Yud Aleph, Reish Ayin Vav, that even if he does it on his own, you have to be moicha. If he doesn't want to listen, chase him out of the house, like the Mishnah Berurah. Because the guy can't do malacha for a yid. That's why it's pashit kipshutai, that what people think, okay, I can't tell the guy to do malacha for me, but I'm allowed to hint to him. Now what they hint, it's almost comical. They call the guy into the house, they point up to the light, and they start begging and pleading, but they don't say a word. That's not a hint. But even had it been a hint, how do you say, oh, it's dark in my house. I didn't mention malacha, but you can't have the guy put on the light. Because maduch without a dibur at all, as the Mishnah Berurah says, he comes on his own, you can't allow him. So why should remez be mutter? Teretz remez is not mutter. If the guy does it for a yid, you can't have hana from the malach. This is the issa of AMIRA la'akum and the issa of hana from AMIRA la'akum. The only possible heta of having remez is mutter if it's an indirect hana. L'mashal, the lights are on in the bedroom, you can't sleep. So you tell the guy, I can't sleep, the lights are on, and the guy closes it, that's considered an indirect hana. Tosfos' lashon in Shabbos is he takes away a nezek, but you're sleeping because you're tired, not because you closed the light. The light would have disturbed your sleep. That's an indirect hana, and that's mutter to miramis to the guy. Close the light, close the oven, indirect hana. That's why if, for whatever reason, you forgot to put on the urn or the crockpot or the oven, to call a guy, tell a guy to do malacha, it would be an issa chomer of AMIRA la'akum, even b'makom mitzvah. But now, let us approach our question. The guy delivered a package, the mailman or UPS, whatever it is, a package in the mail. Can I enjoy that package? So we have to clarify what it means, the issa of hana mimalecha Shabbos. And let me explain. It's sometimes common, a person goes to a hospital, nursing home, and there's automatic doors. You can't walk in because you're going to open the door. So what's the oldest trick? Wait for a guy to stand by the door. When the guy walks in, the door opens, go in with him. Did you ever wonder the following question? How could you go into the door that was just opened by the guy? It's hana mimalechas akum b'Shabbos. The guy opened the door. So how could you go into that hospital? So it sounds foolish, but what's the answer? The teretz is, wait a minute. You can't have hana from a malacha that was done be'issa on Shabbos. Here the guy is supposed to be mechal Shabbos. Goisha Shavas Chayiv Misa Adarabba. So it's not Hanor from Meleches Akum b'Shabbos. It's Hanor from a Meleches Akum b'Issa b'Shabbos. Oh, so far so good, right? So if the guy, Lamashal, puts on the light in the basement because the guy is cleaning the basement, you could tell him, oh, don't close it. You put it on Shabbos. He did it for his own purpose. So that's fine. So we have one qualification of the Issa. It has to be done b'Issa. But now let's go a step further. And that is, let's say you need your car repaired, and you bring it into the mechanic Friday morning. Say, listen, no rush. I need it Monday afternoon. I have a wedding Monday night. I need it Monday afternoon. Or you need a suit in the cleaners, a shoemaker, a tailor, all these cases where people are doing work on your behalf. So we all know that if you give him enough time to do it before or after Shabbos, so even though he tells you, oh, Rabbi, I'm going to do it Saturday morning, it's ready Saturday 11 o'clock. It's fine. Why? Why is it mutter? Why tak is it mutter? He's doing it on Shabbos. How about if you walk by the mechanic and say, hey, this is your car, work on it now. In 2 hours you won't recognize it. It could be like brand new. Do you have to be moichel? You have to stop him? Why not? He's doing it for you on Shabbos. So this is the well-known heta of Adaita Denafshe, which means it is a Meleches Akum b'Shabbos. He's doing it for you. It's not like the automatic door, he's doing it for himself. He's fixing your car for you. But here's the catch. It's not a Meleches Shabbos per se. He could do it on Friday, he could do it on Sunday or Monday. So he chose Shabbos for his own convenience. That's the het of Adaita Denafshe. The Makar is the Gemara in Shabbos Kuf Chaf Aleph, and Rashi explains, Lahanas Atzmai, the fact that it's done on Shabbos is his decision for his benefit. So now we are pretty much defining more accurately what it is the Issa. The Issa is AMIRA AKUM or Hana Meleches Akum b'Shabbos b'Issa. If it's not b'Issa, there's no problem. If it's not Meleches Shabbos, because you could do it Friday or Monday, so that's the halacha in Reish Mem Zayin. It's also in Reish Nun Beis. It's called a kablan. Basically, that he could do it at any time that he wants, Friday or Sunday. So it's not Shabbos-related work, it's job-related. The job can be done at his discretion. So that's a better definition of AMIRA AKUM. In contrast to what people might make a mistake, but it's really a very obvious chilek, why can't I allow the waiter or my housemaid or a worker, the janitor, the superintendent of the building, why can't I allow him to do malacha on Shabbos? I'm paying for this. He's not doing it for me. He's doing it to get paid. That's his panasa. The answer is, you're right. He's not doing it l'shem shamayim. That's for sure. He's doing it for the money. But his job is to work for you. You hire a waiter for the simcha. He's working for you. And the simcha is Shabbos, not Monday. So the fact that he's doing it to get paid doesn't mitigate the issa. The mechanic, it's not Shabbos related. But a maid, a waiter, a superintendent that has to do work on Shabbos, it is Shabbos related. The fact that he's doing it to get paid is loymayla v'loymayrit. But when it's adaita denafshe, that's a very broad heta. The Behuda in Tinyan Archaim Siman Lamed Ches says, even though the yid gains from the guy working, and he gains in a financial way, it's mutter because it's adaita denafshe, it's not amir la'akum. The Sheil Lemeshiv in Madura Dalet Chayla Gimel Siman Sadik Bey says, the Behuda says it's mutter. Why didn't he mention the Gemara? The Gemara says even though the yid has anah gedoyla, if it's adaita denafshe, it's mutter. Okay, now we have a better understanding. Let us apply it and let us try to see how much we could do with this simple case. Let me start with the Ma'aseh Shehayat, the true story. In the camp where I go to, someone had a stender, and it had seen better days. It needed some repair. So he went over to one of the Goyish workers and he said, I'm going to pay you, fix my stender. He gave it to him Friday. I need it by Sunday afternoon. Do it whenever you want. Okay. The guy walks in Shabbos morning, after davening, proudly, here, hot off the press, fresh off the press, here, I just fixed it now, enjoy the stender. So there's no doubt about it. This is a kablan. He got paid for the job. The question is, can the Yid use the stender on Shabbos? So you're wondering, why not? If there's no Issa of doing it, if it's a real Adaita Denavshe, so why can he enjoy it? And indeed, the Shulchan Aruch in Reish Nun Beis Siv Dalet says, why not? If there's no Issa of AMIRA AKUM, he didn't do anything wrong by commissioning the guy to do it, why can he enjoy the stender? Now, of course, if the guy put on the light for you on Shabbos, you can't enjoy the light because there you needed it on Shabbos. But here you stipulated, for me, if Monday is good. So we could say, according to the Mechaba, if the guy put on the light, you can't have a na, but the stender is perfectly mutter. However, the Ramah on that sif of the Mechaba quotes on a guy's Oshri, a Maril, and a Reikeach, that it's also to enjoy the stender on Shabbos. Why? Lamaisa it adaita denafshe, says the Mishnah Berurah and Sivkot and Chav Ches, but lamaisa the guy did it for you on Shabbos. Now this has to be explained, but what Mr. Berurah is saying is very pashut. There are two independent focuses in this sugya. Number one is Amir La'akum. You can't have Amir La'akum, it's a Rabbanan. But even if it's not Amir La'akum because you gave him leeway till Monday, but if the guy did malacha for you on Shabbos and you enjoy it on Shabbos, you might come to tell him next week to do it on Shabbos. It's the same problem. If Anami Melecha Shabbos, you might do malacha. And that's why the Ramah says, unless it's the Tzorych, you should not have hana from the malacha that was done on Shabbos. Now you should know that it's interesting. You cannot never have this in real life because the cleaner suit or the suit for the tailor or the mechanic, all those cases, you don't pick up the car on Shabbos. It's usually pick it up after Shabbos. So it's usually not negeya. It's only a rare case of a stender that the guy fixed in the mountains that you could have enough from Shabbos, and Taka the Ramah says, L'chatchila, and unless it's Makom Tzorech, don't have hana until Mitzvah Shabbos, B'chadei Sheyas. Now, Lamaisa, I'll tell you another shayla, okay? But here's the beauty of the sugya, because it just goes from the same yesod, just holding cheshbon of where we're going. Also a true story. Someone was making a Shabbos simcha, and as Yisrael Kadosh, and people send things for the simcha, cake and everything. So, Erev Shabbos, he was overwhelmed with various matanos for the Kiddush. Shabbos morning, the doorbell rings. It's a problem. Who's there ringing a bell on Shabbos? A delivery service. We have to apologize. We really feel bad. We were supposed to bring this yesterday afternoon. We misplaced it, but we decided we're going to bring it. Here it is. Enjoy. Mazel tov. And they walk out. A guy drove, brought food on Shabbos just for the Yid. Now this seems like a real Issa Hana, because it's definitely they did it for the Yid, and Adaita Denafshe, it's not, they have to bring it now. And L'chayr, according to the Ramah, even if it's Adaita Denafshe, it should be awesome. Yet Re'ez Apella, and a very, very important Yesod. The Rashba in the Chuvis and the Beis Yosef, in the end of Tav Kuf Tezvav, quotes the Lashon verbatim, has this very shayla. A Yid sent a gift to another Yid, and he hired a Goyish messenger service that was delayed and brought it on Shabbos. Brought it chutz the tchum noch dazu. Zok the Ramah, Zok the Rashba, that the Yid's allowed to enjoy the food on Shabbos or Yom Tiv. It was brought on Shabbos, but here the Raj is a beautiful Yesod. What's the problem with enjoying it on Shabbos? The Yid that sent it on Friday. There was enough time to do it. You received it, you didn't do any Issa. The teretz is, that's what the Rashba means, l'chayra, is based on Taisvis. If you enjoy it today, you might ask the guy next week to do it. In this case, it doesn't make sense. The guy is not your messenger. The guy didn't bring you a gift. He did it this week, he'll do it next week. It's a messenger service of a Yid, but it's not you. There's no chashash. You're going to ask this guy to do malacha for you because he didn't bring you a gift. He's working for someone else. So what the Rashba is saying is, if there's no chashash, if you have no shaykhs to that guy that brought it, there's no chashash you'll ask him for next week. That's the lashon of the Rashba. The Kolbei says the same thing, and the Mishnah Berurah in Tavkuf Tezvav Siv Cotton, Samaches quotes a Meiri that's even more specific. you have no shaykhis to the Goyish messenger service. So I'm not chayish, he's going to do something next week. Where was the case of waiting b'chadei sheyasa? If the guy who you know brings you a gift, this week you didn't ask him, next week you will ask him because you have a shaykh, because you have an ongoing relationship. But a guy out of nowhere coming, working for someone else, there's no chashash you might do malacha for you. So you're allowed to take an item and have enough of it. But wait a second. What about the reason of Rashi? Shelo yehena mimeleches AKUM. You know, have enough. Zok the Magen Avram siv cotton chav zayin a golden avart. Hana means you couldn't enjoy this without the guy. The guy plucked it off the tree, the guy cooked it, he baked it, he fished it up. But he brought you a finished product. That's not a hana. The carrying, but that's not considered a direct hana, and there's no issa having hana. So like Rashi and Tosfos, there's no problem using a delayed shlichus, a delayed, what the guy brought on your behalf. But wait, this is, so according to Rashi and Tosfos, there's a problem. There's no problem. And that's why the Poskim say that basically you could enjoy the food. But the truth is, it's the only issue that might be here is if it came from chutz tchum. So now you could keep it in your house and move it around the house, but you can't go out of your rishus, out of your dalaramis. So that's somewhat of an issue. But basically, the point here is that if the guy brought it because of someone else, it's mutter for the yid to have hana, and that's the way the Shulchan Aruch passes in the end of Tav Kuf Tezvav. Next question, and that is a very simple question that people want to know. I was supposed to mail something. I was asked to mail something on Sunday. I put it in my pocket. Now I'm cleaning my pocket, to see before Shabbos. The mail's still there. Can I mail letters Erev Shabbos right before this man? Put it into the mailbox. So the emes is that if you put it in the mailbox Friday afternoon, the guy who work is going to pick it up Shabbos morning or whenever the pickup is. However, the Poskim say that in our times, in Tafshin Pei Aleph, it's mutter to mail letters on Shabbos. Rav Moshe Chayil Gimel Simon Mem Vav says you shouldn't mail it Erev Shabbos because there might be a Fraya Yid that works in the postal service. And Takum Rav Moshe wrote the tshuva, it was very common to have irreligious Jews working in the mail, in the postal service. But I've heard this, and Rabelski has a tshuva in Simon Dalet, Tzif Kat and Hay. And he says also that today there's not any Yidden working in the postal service, be'erach, kamat. So you're allowed to mail letters on Friday. But the question is, wait a minute. Okay, so there's no lifnei Iyar of a Yiddish worker. But what about the fact that the guy is going to process the mail? He's going to pick it up on Shabbos and bring it to the base, the station. So the teretz is that really this is a new example of adaita denafshe. When you put a letter with your stamp, first class albeit, you have rights that it should be mailed in a timely fashion. If the Goyish worker decides that he wants to take a day off and not pick up the mail on Shabbos, you have no claim. In other words, mail is at their convenience, like we all know. Sometimes you get the mail a week later. If they don't pick it up on Shabbos, they wait till Sunday or Monday, you have no claim, you have no legal claim. You have rights that they will eventually mail your letter. So the Poskim say that if, when you mail something on Friday and they decide to come on Shabbos instead of Sunday, or Shabbos instead of Matzah Shabbos, that's a daita denafshe. They could have done it before or after Shabbos. So that's why the Poskim say mailing letters today is not a problem. It's a new expression of a kablan, that the guy is paid for the job, which could be done before or after Shabbos. Now, of course, if you're mazel, you have there's a yid working on the route that you want to mail the letters. Of course, don't do it. That's lifnei Iyar. There's no heta daita denafshe when it comes to a yid. Chas v'shalom. That's a real lifnei Iyar. Now, the emphasis I want to mention, I'm surprised I didn't see any place can point this out, but I think it's quite mistavra. Could be mailing letters is mutter for a totally different reason. The Pri Megadim in Mishpatei Zahav Reish Mem Gimel, the end of Sif Katan Gimel, speaks about in his times, a few hundred years ago. He says the whole Beidaya, the whole mail system today, in his times, he's not working for the one that's mailing the letters. He's working for the government. The government wants to have a mail service to deliver their mail. That's the way he says it. And I guess, well, to make it more beneficial, financially rewarding, they make mail for the whole area. But the mail service is really, the workers are working for the government, not for the individual. Now this might sound like a chiddush. If you think about it, it's very pashut. I'll give you a perfect illustration. Did you ever imagine someone will say, you know, I have thousands of employees. He goes, oh really? Wow, what do you do? Nothing, I'm unemployed. So how do you have thousands of employees? I have hundreds of policemen working for me, hundreds of firemen, postal service, garbage men, sanitation department, they're all working for me. Is he right? Maybe. You know, the garbage man once tells you before the holiday, don't forget, I'm working for you. Don't forget me, I don't forget you, right? But no one will say the garbage man is my worker. If you say he is, let me ask you a question. In many neighborhoods, Punkta Mazel is that garbage collection is Shabbos. So what do people do? They bring out the garbage Friday. What's the heta? He's taking your garbage on Shabbos. Teretz is Rabbi, he's not working for you. Okay, you're a hechatimtza of his panasa. He's working for the government. His job is to take your garbage, but he's not working for you. So the Pri Megadim seems to be saying that that's the way the mail service also is. You put your letter in the box, you pay money for it, 55 it is, with the stamp, whatever it may be, but he's not working for you. Now the Machzel Yo in Simela mit Zayin Sivkotten Zayin says this Yisoid, that maybe the whole postal service and the sanitation department, it's not working for the Yid, it's working for the government. If you don't put in a box, so he won't take your letter, but he's not working directly for you. And the truth is, this is muchach, otherwise, like I told you, you have a problem with the garbage disposal. How could you leave the garbage by the curb? The teretz is that it's really working for the government and it's not your AMIRA la'akam b'chlal. Why I said this is because I guess it's soon in Yana Diyayim people go up to the mountains, and in the mountains we have a new interesting twist of this shayla. And that is that people in front of their bungalow or private home or colony, whatever it is, they have a private mailbox. And you put your mail in, and if you want the mail person to stop by your house, you pick up the red flag, and they stop. Otherwise, they drive right by. So the question is, can I put my mail, Erev Shabbos, into my private mailbox and lift up the red flag so the guy will drive by and know, oh, there's mail, and we'll take the mail. So it sounds more intimidating because the guy is coming specially to your house to take your mail. And if you don't pick up the red flag, he won't stop. And I saw in a wonderful new sefer, Pia Pas B'Chachma Amad Reish Lamed Ches, he says that the flag is worse because now it's almost certain they will come to your house. But the Emes says it's hard for me to understand that because at the end of the day, it's the same adaita denafshe. If that mail person drives right by you, you can't sue them. They will come at their convenience. Especially like the Pri Megadim's heta, it's the same yisoid. With a flag, without a flag, they're working for the government. You're the hechatimtz of their panasa. And again, the raya would be from the garbage men that come on Shabbos because you left the garbage there. If you don't leave the garbage, they won't take it. So that's why it seems that this is the same heta of AMIRA la'akum, but it's not really AMIRA la'akum. Otherwise, I have another problem. Let's say you live in a one-family house. So typically the mail person that delivers the mail brings the mail to your house. Why are you allowed to do that? He's walking from a Shisa Rabim to a Shisa Yachid, delivering your mail. If you live in a big apartment building with a lot of goyim, you could say it's Ribi B'Shiurim. But he's coming right to your house and he's bringing your mail. He's carrying for you. What's the heta? The teretz has to be the same yesod. He could leave it in his wagon and do it on Monday, or he's working for the government, but it's the same adaita denafshe. So lifting up the flag is not any more than just putting mail in the box or putting garbage on the curb. Now, the Mishnah Berurah does say, when you give it to the mechanic, don't say, do it on Shabbos. Because then you tell him, do it on Shabbos. But I don't think lifting a flag is like an AMIRA. It's an indication the mail is here, do what you want. So l'chayra, we would come out that it would be mutter even to put the mail in the private box and lift up the red flag. The only thing is, and this is our Pam Zechon, he had this problem. He had a Yiddish mailman that brought the mail to his house every day. The person that delivered to the homes was a Yid, the Fry Yid. And he was mamish horrified. So he asked him very nicely, please don't come to my house on Shabbos. And because he said it nicely, the guy said, the Yid said, fine. And for years, he didn't receive mail on Shabbos. That's not a chumrah, that's mikra din. If the Yid is coming just because of you, l'fnei there's no heta of a daita denafshe. We're talking about if it's a goyish workers, so we have this heta of a daita denafshe. Next question. You received mail, and let's say you received a printed divrei Torah publication. Comes from the yeshiva every Friday, a nice shmooze, a dvar Torah. It comes in an open envelope, so you don't have to open it. You get it on Shabbos. Well, you get it on Friday, you read it on Shabbos. This week, the mail was delayed. It came on Shabbos morning. Can you open the envelope? You don't have to tear it. Just open up the manila envelope, take out the divrei Torah and read it on Shabbos. So, let me be very clear. I'm not talking about reading material that's also to read on Shabbos. I'm not talking about any malacha being done. It's a Torah publication there's no malacha involved other than just enjoying the mail that came to your house on Shabbos. So the embassy, you might say, well, the mailman brought it to your house on Shabbos. You could do it on Monday, but we said according to the Ramah, it's also to have a no, even if it's a daita denafshe, reish nun beis siv dalid. So what's the heta to have a no from the mail? Even if it's a daita denafshe, but you can't have a no. Oh, but for us, our boys, it's masik mitvash, because here we have the heta of the Rashba. He's coming not because of you. He was sent by the yeshiva, whoever sent the Dar Torah. So you can't ask him to do it for you because he didn't come because of you. So this case of mail that you're allowed to read on Shabbos is like the case of Tafkuf Tezvav Sif Tes, where the messenger service was working for someone else, and indeed, l'char, you could have hana from the mail on Shabbos Gufa. Especially like the Prima Godim, he's not a shliach for anybody, he's working for the government. So the case of a Dvar Torah that came on Shabbos is just as kosher, quote unquote, like the Kiddush cake that came on Shabbos morning, you could have hana. If it came chutz tchum, so you have to figure out, if it came chutz tchum, then you have a problem of how far you could take this Dvar Torah. Now, typically regular mail is muktzah. I must tell you, most mail today especially is bills. Now, bills is muktzah, either people say chasar and kiss, some say muktzah machmas miyus, but the real pshat is it's muktzah machmas gufay, it's unusable. The Mishnah Berurah and Shin Zayin Nun Hey says, no, mail is not muktzah, because you could use it lotzor al pitzlu chisay, as a bottle stopper. But the emissary of Moshe and Chelik and Chabesiv Katan Aleph says, today we don't use mail or any paper as a bottle stopper. Today we have different types of bottles. Rabbi Yashavol said that today the mail, the bills, and all the business-related mail is muktzah machmas gufay. It's not chasar and kiss, it's not miyas, machmas gufay. So mail is muktzah becheftzah. Now, of course, a newspaper that comes on Shabbos, a secular paper, has its own problems. First of all, the fact that you ordered it to come on weekends also, that means you paying for a messenger service to deliver the mail on Shabbos to your house. This is not the post office, this is not daita denafshe. You're paying specifically for the weekend delivery. Weekend as in Shabbos. Weekend is not Sunday, weekend is Shabbos. So there's delivery service is the problem. Sometimes the newspaper was printed on Shabbos, and often the paper itself shouldn't be read on Shabbos. It's material that you can't read on Shabbos, whether it's business or advertisements or worse. So I'm not talking about newspapers that have the problem of delivery and of the printing. I'm talking about a person gets mail that he's allowed to read on Shabbos, so the fact that it came to his house on Shabbos doesn't at all present the shaila. Next question is, I think we, Baruch Hashem, did all about mail. Now we're talking about private deliveries. Lamashal, someone is in business and he gets a order on Friday that the person wants a shipment. He wants it right away. So it should be pashit that for the seller, the Yiddish merchant, to send something overnight delivery is a problem. Why? The receiver is a guy. Not often there's no Yid, not often Eva, it's a guy. True, the problem is not for the Goyish receiver, the problem is for the sender. But overnight means you're paying extra that it should go on Friday and get there on Shabbos. That is not a daita denafshe. That is commissioning a Goyish messenger service to bring the mail, to bring the package, to deliver the package on Shabbos. mail is mutter, but I once saw many years ago a big truck in our neighborhood, big letter, 3 letters, G-O-D. So I was surprised, they're being mefarsim alikus ba'olam. But then I realized, no, it's guaranteed overnight delivery. Nothing to do with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Hiring a G-O-D is asa. Because if you hire him a Friday afternoon and it takes a few hours to get there, you can't do it on Friday, and they have to be on Shabbos, that's considered commissioning a guy to do malacha on Shabbos. So overnight delivery, or whatever it is, if it can't be done before or after Shabbos, then it is asa as the fact that you're hiring a messenger service. Now, if the merchant sends it with typical 8-day service within 8 days, and they decide to ship it right away, that's perfectly okay. But you have to keep in mind, when you have a private delivery service, we don't have the heta of prima godim of the postal service. This already is a private business. Now, the same question would also be negeya with when a yid receives an order from a Goyish company and they send it. He called it on Friday, and they said, what would you like? So obviously it's pashit that if you say, I want it within 24 hours, that's awesome. The Goyish company is sending it, but part of the payment that you're paying for this item is the quick delivery. So to order something that has to be as soon as possible, even though the guy is hiring the messenger service, but you're paying for that, so it's basically AMIRA AKUM. So that's why you have to really understand, today it's a very popular business, Amazon Prime, but basically Amazon Prime is a person pays extra for immediate service. Prime, the way it works is they figure out what you want, where in which warehouse it is, how long it will take. It might even be out of state or it might be out of country. But they work as quick as possible. Say, this item, you could have it in 2 days or 2 hours, depending on where it is. If a person orders something on Thursday, and they say the quickest you could get it is 2 days, in other words, part of delivery has to be done on Shabbos, even if you ordered on Thursday, it's still awesome. If it's unfeasible to send it without involving Shabbos, it's the same AMIRA AKUM. So basically, ordering on Prime, you have to realize it has to be done without Chilul Shabbos. Okay, I always mention Prime, there's a lot today people are talking about it. It's a good thing to mention. We have to give panasa to Yiddish merchants. I see so many Prime trucks in our neighborhood. I'm pretty confident that the owner of Amazon is making panasa. And that's putting it very mildly. But, it's taken away from Yiddish merchants, so economy out of Misech is definitely a big mitzvah. But Lamais, if someone does order with Prime, it has to be done within reason. There shouldn't be a concern of AMIRA AKUM. A person that orders something on Wednesday, and they say it could take, up to 8 days, of course that's mutter. Friday, he says, send it at your convenience. And punkt, it comes on Shabbos. So again, it's the same thing. There's no problem. The having hana would be totally in the Reish Nun Beis, Siv Dal, the Mechab, and the Ramah. The question that we began with, I received an order that was delayed, a sefer, clothing. So again, no doubt about it that it came to your house on Shabbos, done just for you. But here, since it was not sent be'issa, you ordered it way in advance, it was delayed, we have mamish, the case of the Rashba. The fact is that you ordered it in advance, the fact that it was delayed, so this would be a real case of adaita denafshe, and l'chayra, it's mutter to have ano. Adaita denafshe, but it still came on Shabbos. For that we have the Rashba, that you're not calling the shots, it came from where it came from. We also have the Meiri's Yesod, that the fact that you have no connection to the delivery service, it's a guy from out of nowhere. So basically, if you got a safe in the mail or got clothing in the mail, and there's no problem as far as opening the package, whatever, I'm not getting into the malacha aspect of it, but to have enough from the item, the chayr is mutter. Again, the only issue you have to keep in mind is if the item came from chutz l'tchum on Shabbos, so then you could use it in your house or in the city. You have to stay in the dollar amis, the halachic dollar amis, because an item brought chutz l'tchum, you can't go out of the tchum of the tchum of your dollar amis. Your dollar amis, which includes your house or your dollar amis. But basically, as far as the actual delivery, we have the heta of the Rashba, and we also have the heta of the Rama, of the Magen Avram. In the worst scenario, the hana is not a direct hana. The guy did something other than delivering. It's only the hana from Haitzah, and the Magen Avram says that hana is not a significant hana to Asa. I also want to mention the Rabbi Kiva Eger in the end of Tavkuf Tezvav says if it came from Chutz to Tchum, that's not an issa for you, because the issa is for who that was brought bishvilai. Here it was brought the messenger is a shliach of the Mishaleach, not the receiver. So the Chutz to Tchum is the problem of the Mishaleach. Also, I should mention the fact is that he didn't bring it dafka to have hana on Shabbos. He's supposed to bring it way in advance. So there's no really mechav malachte for Shabbos, and that would be okay. Now, you could appreciate, it's kedai to look into when you have a chance. In the Shulchan Aruch and Shin Zayin Sif Yud Dalid says that a package, something came to your house on Shabbos, you could have hana. And the Mishnah Berurah kedark in a few words, but he captured the whole sug in a few words. It's amazing. I came from Chutz L'Tchum, I came from a guy did it. But he says, first of all, you have the heter of the Rashba, and you have the heter of the Magen Avram. It's only carrying, it's not a direct hana. So basically, whatever came from Chutz L'Tchum, you could enjoy it in your house for sure, a book or clothing. Just don't go out of your dalar amis, which could be your house or even within the Erev. If mail comes or a package comes that's muktzah, whatever the reason, but let's say it's muktzah. So people have been asking this recently because especially today because of COVID, they just drop the mail and run, and it's blocking the door. People are going to trip. So in the worst scenario, if the mail or the package is muktzah, so you can't pick it up, can't move it. So the simple eitzah based on Shin Yud Aleph Siv Ches to Shulchan Aruch Paskins Tiltul Begufay, if you move it with any part of your body except your hands, is mutter, even for no hetadika reason. So kick the mail or move the mail, you don't have to kick it, you can move it to the side with your foot, and that would be tiltul begufay, and that's mutter in this situation. So if the mail is muktzah, move it to the side, no one has to trip over it, and you avoid that problem. The Mishnah Berurah in Shin Zayin, Sifkat Nun Hey, and the Rav says it in Sif Chav Zayin, point out, let's say you see the mailman's coming, and he's bringing you a long-awaited book, sefer, or Torah publication, it's not muktzah. So in your haste, you want to take it from him. And why not? You're in your house. Says the Mishnah Berurah, but be careful. Because if you take it out of the guy's hand, you're making the hanacha. Even though you're in your house, and it's not muktzah, and it's not asa. So don't be too quick to take the mail out of his hand. That might be the completion of the haitzah, and you don't want to do that on Shabbos. So of course, don't do that. Listen to an exciting question. I heard this a few times. Mamish, a few times this happened. Someone landed on Erev Shabbos from a flight, and there was plenty of time to get back for Shabbos, so everything was going perfectly on schedule. He went to find his luggage, nowhere to be found. He calls this person, this personnel, they come back with the wonderful news, your luggage is in Tokyo. We'll have it in a very timely way, please be patient, we will give you plenty of free mileage, and don't sue us, they say it in a nice way. But it was misplaced, it ended up somewhere else, you'll get it, don't worry. Bekitza, he's not waiting around, it's Erev Shabbos, he goes home, he has no choice. Shabbos morning, Shabbos afternoon, doorbell rings, who's there? And he goes down, who's there? Delivery service from the airport, here's your luggage. They brought it out of the tchum, it was flown in, whatever, plenty of malachas were done just for you. This sounds frightening. A guy did malacha just for you. It's not a daita de nafshi l'chayra. They're coming dafka on Shabbos. They were sent on Shabbos. But here we come to an extremely important El Yerabba in Reish Ayin Vav Sif Katan Yotes. El Yerabba has the following. He writes, Nishalti, someone asked me a shayla. A yid had a candle burning and everything was going great. The guy Shemaid, decided to be helpful, and there was a little part of the wick that wasn't letting the fire burn brightly. So they decided to take off the burnt wick. That's like Shemayata. But they messed it up, and the candle went out. So they put out the Yiddish candle. So the guy decided to put on the candle. Now you have a problem. Ner shehidlik AKUM, you can't have ano. Zok the Iyar Rabbi, no. In this case, it's mutter to have enough from the ner. Why? Because the kivan shakiva biyadai. What the Rabbi is saying is that this is a case of a daita denafshe. The guy put out your candle and of course wants to relight it because she doesn't want you to get angry at her. That's not a daita de Yisrael, a daita denafshe. And then he says an even bigger chiddush. He says, look at Tosfos. And the Rabbi is very bekitza kedarkai, but you know what he means to say? The whole problem why you can't have enough meleches AKUM is because if you have enough today, next week you'll ask the guy to do it. You are very far from asking the guy to do melacha for you. I did everything before Shabbos. I lit my candles. Who asked the guy to put out my candles? I'm not being bezalzel, and I'm not talking to a guy. So if there's no chashash that I might ask the guy to do melacha, there's no problem of having hana. Azoy state in Iyar Rabbi and the Bialacha in Sif Aleph in Reish Ayin Vav, and the end of Reish Ayin Vav quotes the Iyar Rabbi halacha l'maisa. Now, of course, I would add, why is it different if the guy lights the candle for me on his own on Friday night, or the guy puts on the lights for me Friday night? Why is it different? It's so different, it's pashut. Because if I have no light and the guy put on lights is doing it for me. Here it's doing it adaita the nafshe, or there's no chashash that he will do it again. But here the guy is doing it just for me to put on the lights. Avada, that's awesome. So this is why there's a heta when referred to as a heta of tikkun ta'os. If the guy messed it up, the guy could rectify the situation. In fact, I saw the Orcha Shabbos and Amid Tov Samach Aleph says, not only is it mutter to have hana, you could point out to the guy in a nice way, excuse me, you try to help me, but the candle is out. Go say, oh, really? And the guy will put it on. That's also mutter. Because since at the end of the day, when the guy relights the candle, it's considered tikkun toys, there's no problem. Now, you can't directly say, put on the candle, that's AMIRA AKUM, that's daber dava. But just to say, hey, you tried, but you failed. Look, the candle's out. That's fine. The point is that this is a heta of tikkun toys, that there is no isser of having hana. No, now I ask you, would this apply to the case of the lost luggage? I got on a plane with my luggage. They messed it up. They sent it to Tokyo. We had to take a betten. And I saw most of the heintige poiskim, a number of poiskim say, you're right. It's enechanami. Now, if it came from chutz to tchum, so you have the restrictions of tchum. But beyond that, there's no problem having enough from the luggage. The Orcha Shabbos and Amid Tov Mem Tes, he says an interesting aside. You didn't have the luggage and they took it out of your hands. They sent it the wrong place. All the case of tikkun toys is you had it and they stopped your hana. Here, they put it onto the plane in the bottom of the plane. Instead of going there, it went elsewhere. So maybe that's not the regular tikkun toys. Now, it's true, it's not the regular tikkun toys. But what I think is, according to the way the Iyar Rabbi says, the main heta is that you are not looking for trouble. You did everything kalacha. The fact that the guy messed up, you're not chosh, you're going to do in the future. The second shot of the Iyar Rabbi is, I'm not being mezalzel in Shabbos. The guy came along and put out my candle. Why can't I have it on when he put it on? Here also, I'm an erlachir. I made my flight early Friday morning to arrive safely, and they sent it to Tokyo. So there's no chashash of a future concern. So I definitely think we could be makel with the lost luggage. Again, make sure you keep in mind where it came from, if it's chutz to tchum or not. Now, of course, if the airport for some reason refuses to help you, you can hire your private delivery service to bring their luggage, because that's a regular AMIRA AKUM. But if they're doing it, it's their shlichus. Now, let me ask you an interesting shayla. And this is extremely negay, and it's come out of mitzvah lefarsim. A person has a catering hall in the shul, whatever, and he tells the guy who work, we're having a party tonight, Friday night, put on the lights. You can even put it on Friday morning. I don't care. Just make sure you don't forget, we need lights for the party. Guy says, no problem. Famous last words, Friday night, there's no lights. Can the guy be allowed to put on the lights? Or if he didn't ask questions and put on the lights, can you have enough from the nair? So we are quick to say that l'chayra is tikkun toys. But that's not true. That's not tikkun toys. There was never lights on that he closed. He was supposed to put on the lights, okay. That's his mistake, but he didn't put out lights that you had. So in this case, this is not tikkun tois. This is mamash reish ayin vav sif aleph. Goyish hidlik asaner. The yid can have anah. In fact, even the guest can have anah because it's an issa for all people, as Mr. Bura says in Shin Chaf Hey Sif Kat Nayin Dalit. Now, even though by the case of luggage is mutter, because I had the luggage and they sent it elsewhere, but here I never had the lights, so that's why it's a problem. There's no het of tikkun tois. Now, the Shulchan himself says you're not mechuyev to leave your house because the guy put on the lights. So that's a different issue if you're allowed to use the hall. But there's no doubt about it. This is not a typical conventional tikkun tois. Now, someone says he's doing it for himself to protect himself, but that's not the regular tikkun tois. That's not the regular tikkun tois. Tikkun tois when you had anah and they prevented it. And the Orcha Shabbos and Amitaf Ayin Beis writes for Dava Pasha, there's no heta of tikkun tois. But what must be mentioned is, why isn't this a regular adaita denafshe? You told them do it Friday morning. So the fact they did it on Shabbos, they could have done it on Friday morning. But the emes is, this is not true. And this is important to mention. First of all, even if it's only a adaita denafshe, then you still can have anah according to the Ramah. Because even a daita nafshe, you can have anah. But then you could say, maybe this is l'tzorech. But there's a more fundamental problem. And Rabbi say, listen to this. Every case of a daita nafshe is, the guy could do it lefaneha u'liachreha. The guy could fix the car Friday or Sunday. The cleaners, all the case lefaneha u'liachreha. The fact that the guy chose to do it Shabbos morning, it's still a daita nafshe until after Shabbos. They could have done it after Shabbos. Here you have an unusual case that the guy didn't do it on Friday, fafala. Now it's Shabbos or never. They can't do it on Sunday for the Friday night simcha. The only time the guy could do it is on Shabbos. Says Rafal Zechaynu Levrach in that Sefer Pia Pas B'Chachma is a beautiful tshuva. And if you learn Be'in, you'll appreciate it. And Amit Shinai involved, he says, this is a mistake. He doesn't know how it crept into people's mindset that if you could do it before Shabbos and they do it on Shabbos, it's not true. If Shabbos came, they didn't yet do it, now he wants to do it. Why are you allowed to do it? Adaita denafshe. Excuse me, what's your other option? Turning back the clock, doing it Friday? It's not working. Doing it on Sunday for Shabbos Simcha? All the case of adaita denafshe is you could do it lachel. And he has a raya. And Baruch Hashem, we machavim to this raya also. The case of the Rashba, the Shulchan Aruch, at the end of Tav Kuf Tes Vav, about a delivery came on Shabbos. We had 3 reasons why it's mutter to have hanah. We had the reason of the Rashba and the Magen Avram and the Mirmiri. What do you have to have reasons for? Say Pashit. He could have done it. He's supposed to do it on Friday. The Torah says he's supposed to do it on Friday. True. But he didn't. Now it's Shabbos or what? So once it's only Shabbos to do it, that's not a daita denafshe. He has other rayas, and that's why he concludes emphatically, there's an Issabara that's not a daita denafshe. All the cases, the mailing, all the cases, Daik V'Tishkach, it's only because he has the option of doing it after Shabbos. And the Orcha Shabbos in Amid Taf Samach Beis, Taf Ayin Beis has the exact same shayla. You told them to do it Friday, they forgot. To do it on Shabbos is not a daita denafshi, and it's very mistavra. Because it's basically missing the ikaheta of lefaneh uleachreya. Now, Lamaisa, where this comes up on a practical level is you tell the Goyish workers, this is unfortunately common, don't forget, cut the plastic tablecloths for Shalashudas, for the Kiddush, before Shabbos. Because you're not cutting tablecloths, Rafalk, and that tshuva says, could involve possibly 3 different malachas. Mechatich, Kaireya, Makibapatish. You tell them, do it before Shabbos, and they forget. So, daita denafshe. It's not true. If it's only Shabbos or nothing, then it's nothing. Because that's no longer daita denafshe. So people say, no, I could live without it, I could eat on a wooden table. Okay, so eat without it, go without it. But you're not going to do that. So that's not a daita, I don't need it, it's not a hano. So it's something it's kedai, especially in the shul, the Rabim, you see goyim cutting tablecloths, it's mamash a malacha deraisa. So this is basically what he says, and it's again a very deep understanding about daita denafshe. And Acher Chav, let me leave you with a treat. Rav Ozna has this shayla, Ma'aseh Shai and Chelik Yud Siman Nun Beis. A person ate out Friday night, the Suda, by his children, but he wanted to learn in his study, whatever, dining room. So he set the light to go on 11 o'clock with a timer. The guy Yishamaid saw it's 11:15 and there's no lights. So the guy Yishamaid didn't ask questions, but very helpful, pulled out the timer and plugged in the light directly, put on the light. So now the light was burning. The Yid came home at 11:15 and go, why the lights on? He goes, oh, thank you to me. Because I saw it wasn't on, so I wanted to go on. So he didn't know about a timer. He goes, what'd you do? Now you put on the light. I can't have enough from the lights all Shabbos. Somebody asked Rav Wosner this shayla. So Rav Wosner, so the person said, this is tikkun tois. I had a light, the guy tampered with it. So Rav Wosner, with this tremendous analytical mind, says it's not perfectly tikkun tois. Because in this case, in a regular tikkun tois, the guy put out the candle and relit it. Here, the guy put it out and relit it just for the Yid. The guy took up the time and put on the light just for the Yid. Tikkun tois, the guy did it for his own purpose. But here it's done for the Yid. But says Rav Wosner, but what is a heta, and you could be saimach on that, is the second svar of the El Yerabba. This Yid is an Erlich Yid that did everything before Shabbos. The fact that the guy came along and did something, there's no further chashash of michshol, and you could have hana, a guten tag to you all.
Shame Egan Shir, like the big Yashakar or Smith for today's share. As we get close to sponsoring a share, call Egan Shir Torah 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com. Rav Smith will Bezer Hashem say the seekum of today's share after Mincha. Chananya men HaKash Emar Tzakadosh Baruch Hu L'Zachis Yisrael Figi Hibelim Torah Mitzvah Shneimah L'Nei Chofetz Amar Tzidki Yagdol Torah V'Yadeh. Bye.